Today we are making this super easy interchangeable sign using Ikonart. I'm going to show you the entire process from start to finish, artwork to the finished sign. So let's get into it.
So the first thing we are going to do today is create the artwork. You can either make your own artwork or use a free SVG that you get online. So I'm going to do both. So first I went to our website, resources, free artwork page, and found the artwork that I wanted. And I'm going to be using this flower design today. So I just scroll down to the SVG and download. It opens in a new window, then you can just right click and save it to your desktop. And that's it. So next I'm going to go to my Gravit Designer. That's where I'm going to be creating my artwork today. And it's just designer.gravit.io. And I opened a letter size document and then go to File, Open Local File, and find the SVG that I just downloaded to my desktop. And then I just select my artwork and click Edit Copy, and then go to the artboard that I created and edit paste. Now I'm just going to resize it. So I go over to my inspector window and click the little block button that's in between the width and the height. That'll scale things proportionally. And I already measured the sign that I'm going to be putting on this, so I know it needs to be at least 5.5 wide and at least 7 tall, and that's to hang over the edge of my artwork. It's going to be a full bleed on my piece of wood. So then I just rotated it, and now I have this space at the bottom of my 8.5 by 11 sheet. So I am going to create my own text. So I'm just using the text tool and typing the word hello. And then over again in my inspector palette, I can change the font to whatever I want. I'm going to be using Pacifico today. And just scale that up a little bit. And then I'm going to just type the word spring. And again, go over to my inspector palette and select the font Montserrat and choose medium. Again, I'll scale that up a little bit. So I like to then convert, once I have my text typed the way I want it to be, I like to then convert it to path, and then that creates artwork out of my text, rather, so it's not editable anymore. I wouldn't be able to, editable anymore. I wouldn't be able to change the words anymore. But now it'll scale it like actual artwork. So I can select both pieces of art and make them the exact width I want. These are going to be going on a little round disc that's about 3 inches wide. So I'm going to make my artwork 2.5 inches. So I'll select both pieces of art and make it 2.5 inches wide. And then I can select both and go to my Align palette under the inspector. And if I select center, it'll center them exactly to each other. All right, so once I have that created, I'm just adjusting it a little bit to be the spacing I want, just group that together, and that's good to go. So now I'm just going to do the same exact process with my second piece of art. I'm just doing the Hoppy Easter. Because I'm going to be making that interchangeable sign, I want 2 different discs. All right, so once I have everything done, I can just go ahead and mirror it. This is an optional step, but it's super easy to do in Gravit. You just select the mirror horizontal button, and now I can go to print. So I select my Canon, and under more settings, I choose my print dialog box, go to my preferences, and this is where I have my preferences saved. And all I did is change the paper type, change the print quality, change the color and intensity, and I'm ready to go. So then I can click print. And as you can see here, I'm using the Canon Pixma IX6820 to print, and adjusting those settings gives me a nice dark print, which is very important during exposure. And your print should be printing pretty slow because that means it's laying down more ink. So after I print, I'm ready to expose. So I just grab, I'm going to be using our purple textile film today. So I just grab a sheet out of the bag that's protecting it from the light, and then I can layer my artwork. So I lay my purple sheet down with the textured side up, my artwork so I can read it, and then the clear cover sheet over the top that comes in the stencil film bag. And then I always make sure to rub it down really well. and that's going to eliminate air in between my stencil film and my artwork, and it will, so the light can't get under my artwork. So then I just expose for 35 seconds and I'm ready to wash out. So I always like to soak my stencils for like 45-ish seconds to a minute before washout. I'm just using the clipboard to protect it from the light while it's soaking. And then I just, drain my water and I'm ready to use my sprayer. I'm using the nozzle that we sell on our website for washout, but you can use your kitchen sprayer also. So this is a hose hookup, so it's good if you have a laundry tub or something like that. Otherwise, a kitchen sprayer works just fine. Soaking the stencil first really helps to soften that emulsion and makes washout go a lot faster. So just, you don't want to be washing out in front of a bright window where the UV light from the sun is coming in during washout. That'll continue to expose your film. But that's why I also used that clipboard before while it was soaking. So now I just always hold it in front of a window to make sure I got all of my openings. If I had any emulsion left in any of the mesh openings, then I would rinse it again. So you can either let it dry flat, you just pat it with a paper towel and let it dry. I'm going to use my film dryer today to speed up the process a little bit. That just makes drying go a little quicker. You can also use a hair gun or a hair dryer, I was thinking heat gun, a hair dryer or a food dehydrator or something like that. And then after the stencil is completely dry, you want to put it back under your light for a little bit to post expose. So that finishes curing that emulsion and hardening that emulsion, and it makes your stencil more durable. So after that, we're ready to start creating. So I'm just cutting my stencils apart, and I always cut a little notch on each corner so I know what side to return my stencil to. You can also write the word back on the back of your stencil either way, but you do want to return your stencil to the same side you remove it from. So that helps with that. So then let's prep our surfaces. This is just a little board that we cut out of a piece of board, really easy, and it already has one coat of paint painted on it and sanded. I like to sand them in between coats to remove any brush strokes. And now I'm just going to add my second coat. I'm using this gesso paint and a foam brush to apply it, and I'm trying to remove any brush strokes as I'm going along. I don't want any ridges in I don't want any ridges in my base coat that when I'm stenciling my paint could leak underneath. So I like to make my base coat as smooth as possible. And then I'll just repeat that process with my wood round that I'm doing. So this is just going to be one of the interchangeable pieces that I put on top of the house. And I'm just, again, using a foam brush and trying to minimize as many brush strokes as possible. If I do have a lot of brush strokes after the paint dries, I will just go in with sandpaper and sand that smooth so that it's nice and smooth, like a 220 grit or higher, something really fine. So that works really well if you have any brush strokes. I'm also going to be using Coco's Chalky powder to thicken up my paint, and that also helps during stenciling. So if I do have some texture on my background, thickening up your paint will also help to not allow for the paint to bleed underneath your stencil. So I'm just speeding up the process now with a heat gun. And so that before I stencil on my background, I want my base coats to be completely dry. I don't want there to be any paint. Otherwise, the adhesive for my stencil could lift up the wet paint if it was wet. So, all right, let's make our chalk paste. So this is what I was talking about. I'm just mixing some regular acrylic paint with Coco's Chalky powder. And we do sell this on our website. You can also get it at Hobby Lobby. It works so good. You just mix it with your paint and it creates an instant chalk paste. And I'm just eyeballing it. I like to do about 1:1, but you can do it in whatever ratio you want to thicken up your paint and whatever consistency you like to thicken up your paint. When I'm using the purple stencils, I do like to make my chalk paste a little bit thinner because I don't want to be able, the mesh is a little bit thicker in our purple versus our blue, and I don't want to be able to see my mesh lines when I'm using chalk paste. So a little bit thinner of a chalk paste is going to avoid seeing those lines, but I still want it to be thick enough where it's not going to bleed underneath my stencil. So that looks good to me. I like that I can make just the quantity of chalk paste that I want, and I don't have to have, you know, a huge tub of chalk paste. As you know, chalk paste can dry out really quick, and I like to just, I don't want like 100 jars of 100 different colors, so I like to just make the quantity I need. All right, let's apply the stencil. I love how the stencil looks. It's a hand-drawn design by one of our Ikonart crafters, Janny from Janabstra. I think I said that right. She hand drew this for us. It's available on our website. Obviously, you saw me download it as a free SVG so that you can make your own stencil with this too if you want. It's so cute. But anyways, now I'm just adding a little bit of paste to my stencil. I like to just add it in a few spots like this. And then I'm using the silicone squeegee to pull it across. And I'm just kind of gliding it across the top, but also using enough pressure to, you know, get it in all the openings and go through the mesh, but not pushing so hard where it's going to go underneath my line or my mesh stencil. So the paste helps with that. It's super easy to apply. I love using this powder to make my own chalk paste. It works so, so, so good. And I'm just using it with a cheap or inexpensive acrylic paint, nothing special. It's just the Anita's paint that you can get at Hobby Lobby or wherever, but it works great with any kind of paint. So here you can see when I lift up my stencil, look at those crisp lines. I love it so much. It just, every time I pull up the stencil, it never gets old. I just love it. Look at it, it just looks so good. And by thickening up your paint, it's not seeping into any of those, you know, cracks in the paint. It's more sitting on top of the wood versus, you know, soaking into all those lines in the wood. And of course our stencils are reusable. So now I'm just rinsing it out. I like to rinse my stencils right away. And when my paint is mixed with chalk paste like this, it seems to wash off my stencils really easy. So I'm just using my hand and it's just coming right off, no problem. And then I would just go ahead and return it to the clear sheet after I wash it. And I do that wet. I don't dry my stencil first. And we also sell, if you don't like using the clear backer that the stencils come with, we also sell release sheets on our website. It's a white silicone coated backer, and those work great too. But I'm just going to use the clear sheet it came with, and I'm using that notch that I put in the corner as my guide on how to line up my sheet so that I know I'm returning my stencil to the same side that I removed it from of the clear sheet. If you don't, it'll stick really hard and it'll ruin your stencil if you return it to the wrong side. So now that that's back on its backer, I can just set it off to the side to dry. All right, let's do the fun part, adding the little discs on top. It's so cute. So I'm just using the Hello Spring design that I did, and then I'm going to use the white chalk paste on top of here that I had made with the Coco Chalky powder. Again, repeating the same process that I did with the flowers. I just scoop a little bit onto my stencil. And then I'm using, to do this one, we also sell mini squeegees on our website, a pack of 10. So if you would prefer to like work with a smaller size, these are super easy to cut down as well. So if you have like little nooks and crannies that you need to get into, you can cut these apart super easily. So we have those on our website as well. All right, and then there's that. So that's the first disc, and that is gonna go on the house. So cute. Now I'm gonna make this, oh, here, I'm doing the part where I'm building up. I want the round part to like kind of pop off and look a little bit more 3D. So all I did was take another disc and glue it onto my house where I want, you know, my artwork to sit, of course. And then when I put the Hello Spring on top of that, it'll kind of pop off of there a little bit. And then I just have these strips of magnets. So I just cut the strip and glued that onto the disc. Both of those things I got off of Amazon, the wood discs and the magnets. The house you can make your own super easy, or you can get tons of them. They are on Etsy. So anyways, I'm just putting the magnet on the back of the Hello Spring 2, letting that dry, and then you can put it on and it kind of like pops off of there. I like that kind of 3D look, more dimensional look. But now I can make another disc, put a magnet on it, and then I can swap it out. I just quickly made my Hoppy Easter one, painted that background purple, and now it's super easy to just swap out. You can make a bunch of these discs with, you know, different whatever sayings on them, and it's a super easy way to have an interchangeable sign, and it took barely any time to make. So cute, love it.